I prepped it actually. That's a good one because I know it's going to come up with the continuous integration. So we have been doing the integration of maybe years. Like even though when I wrote the program probably 30 years ago, I was in integration. But what the continuous integration means, that's a little bit going to come back to this graph shortly. So we have a various team members, like the team A, team B, team C are building the code, and within their environment, eventually we have to merge this code, and then we have to build that. What build means, like we're just getting a code and then creating a binary artifact. So this binary artifacts, it's going to be used in the production or the testing environment, right? So this is kind of like a build process. They have to understand what the build means. Beta is going to get the code and then package it, and depends on the build steps and creating some binary artifacts so we can use for various things. So now in the concept of the DevOps or the modern thinking, we are adding a continuous term here. We are adding a C term. Like this is kind of like an integration level. Now suddenly we are adding a continuous integration. What the continuous integration means, so we're going to get the code. We will get the code from repositories. Remember we mentioned about infrastructure at the beginning. So we will get the code plus other artifacts. Other artifacts is infrastructure code. Other artifacts how we're configuring system. Now build that. Now we are building, so creating an artifacts, creating and the testing, and then eventually we're going to do the deployment shortly. So continuous integration will help us to gather any changes from repositories we get from repositories that kind of get change happen in the repos and developer pushed it. A team pushed something and B team for the person wise or the team. So we can grab the code from the repository and package it and then make sure delivering to the staging testing environment. So in the build process, we're not again just getting a code, we are getting other artifacts because the software that we are building right now, there are so much dependencies in the software. That goes back to the SPAN question at the beginning. So we get the code, we get other artifacts, how we are creating a deployment as an example. How are we creating a dependent libraries as another package? And so we get all together. Maybe we're building the code, we're just going to push into production. We don't know what operating system requirements are behind it. And third one is, this is the first time probably you may be hearing that, write the code, we have the infrastructure, now we're adding a documentation in it. So you don't think about that we are creating a Word documents in the context. This is more about specific information about our system. Our system that we are building, maybe some specific user guide that we are creating. Maybe we have some notes that it is relevant to how we are configuring an environment. Maybe some notes that's specific to how we are writing the requirements for the code that we are building. So suddenly build is combination of the code, artifacts, and other documentation, we can build it. Because as a result of the build, we are creating a artifacts. So artifacts is a binary, but sometimes binary is not enough to run with the production environment because you need other information for a security perspective, for a maintenance perspective. I saw so many examples and the bad practices in software engineering thinking. We are running the build in the production environment. We're never able to go back and reproduce again because we don't have right build steps, right configuration, right documentation, right infrastructure code pieces in place. So the continuous integration is basically combining all of them. So let's look at the continuous delivery and deployment. Let me get bigger here. So I'm just going to give a quick example about the just to set the stage SDLC. So we have the requirements that we write it, and we have the design, kind of like architect as well here. And we have a development and we have a testing. So we are in the deploy that goes in the production environment. So typically continuous integration is happening somewhere here as a continuous integration. So we got the code, we are building, and now we make sure that we have the CI. So continuous integration is going to get a build artifacts for us. What is next? So after build artifacts, there are two concepts. One is a continuous delivery, another one is deployment. It's often a confused term. So both of them intend really go into the production environment. So deployment get artifacts and do some testing or requirement test, including security, and automatically pushed into the production environment. That's kind of deployment goes into the production, which user can see as live, as an output, as a result of the build. What the continuous delivery is, it is manual to production environment, but it is automated into the staging environment. So as an organization, we need once we build artifacts, we can go to test harnesses. We can initiate the different test harnesses. We can create more test cases, test environment. We can deliver the artifacts into the staging or test harnesses, so we can do more testing for the artifact that we build. When we are done, we can manually put this artifacts into the production environment. That's a continuous delivery, and deployment goes automatically. So next question we may think about that, can everybody do continuous deployment? It depends on the business needs. It depends on the system that we are building. Can everybody continuous delivery? Yes, we should do continuous delivery because that's the intent of the building a software. First, we can test more and more and more. When you're ready, you can manually get artifacts if you want to put into your production environment. Okay. So quick summary, continuous integration will help us to build artifacts from code, infrastructure, documentation, all information. We can package it, version it. Then we can test it, the content in the staging environment, make sure everything is working fine, which is delivery. And when we are moving into the production as the users that can see automatically, that's a continuous deployment. So deployment really is specific to the business need. Deployment is specific to organization needs, as an example.